since we are so blessed here to have some people that attended the school when it was in operation, if you would be so kind just to take a couple moments to, each of you in turn, maybe share a couple thoughts about what it was like here and certain things that you thought were exceptional and special as people that were here at the time when it was in operation.
Much of the history has already been given by Calder and, of course, by Professor Bluestone. So what I would add is what we experienced while we were at St. Francis de Sales. I, my mother, my sister, a cousin, and several other relatives and friends attended St. Francis de Sales. And the school did much the same thing that the boys' school did. It was largely self-sustaining. Many of the materials that were used there on site were used to build the building itself, and many of the others came from this area. Mother Catherine Drexel, I think, largely, long before most people thought about integration as something that should be accomplished, did that by creating the type of community that you find in larger cities. She brought in speakers who spoke at Lyceum concerts. She brought in musicians and entertainers and invited people from the local Powhatan community. She wanted to make certain that the students who were there received an excellent education, but by the same token, she was also educating the people who lived in the community itself. She also created an economy. There were many people here who would not have had jobs but for the fact that both St. Emma's and St. Francis existed. And by doing that, she created an economy that helped Powhatan to flourish, and also many of the black residents and white residents in Powhatan who were able thereby to improve the lives of their children and grandchildren. The two schools were connected because the young ladies and the young men had most of their social activities together. We came to watch them when they did parades for the generals who came to do the military inspections. We saw their football games, their basketball games, and they had to march over in their dress uniforms to our little Quonset hut and participate in our social gatherings. We also had our proms and gatherings at some of the military areas, like Fort Lee, I think, was one of the places where we had some of our proms and gatherings. And the young men would come over in their dress uniforms and escort us down the stairs that you saw the students lined up on into our wonderful vehicles. I think they were buses rather than the limousines that the students use nowadays. Drive us to Fort Lee, where we'd have a sumptuous meal and beautiful dances and little dance books and dance programs, just like in the old days. It was really quite lovely. Our education was intense, and now, sister, don't get upset with me, but our rigorous schedule could have put the Marines to shame. Sisters generally wakes up around 6:20 in the morning. The boys were up even earlier than we were. And every moment of the day was scheduled, with the exception of an hour of free time that we had. We usually had 1 hour of free time, and that free time was devoted either to Glee Club, French Club, Latin Club, Sports Club, and there were about 5 other clubs, and you were in one of those, and so that was your hour of free time. Academics was the primary goal, and most of the girls who graduated in every class had been accepted to not to graduate school, but to college. And the same was true of most of the young men at the military academy, and they have 2 of their representatives here, one of whom has written a book about the school, and I'm sure he has some for charrette-only prices for the and the other gentlemen as well, who are both here, who can tell you more about the boys' school. But the sense of community, adaptive reuse, etc., were very clear in St. Francis de Sales. We often think of Greywater as a new thought in the green area, but up in the bell tower that you saw, there was a huge cistern there that gathered rainwater and snow as well. And that was used for Greywater purposes like the flushing of toilets. I learned from one of the students yesterday that there were air ducts and ventilation underneath the building that provided some of the air, heating, and cooling. The land itself also had its own wells. Mother Catherine Drexel was an extraordinary businesswoman who had been trained by the Drexel, well, Francis Anthony Drexel, and her father as well. And any property that she bought always had water available, whether it was in Arizona or in Virginia. And when you think that both properties were built 30 years after the Civil War, 30 miles outside of the capital of the Confederacy, it seems to me, and I too have been looking for that letter, Professor Bluestone, but it seems, I would have to agree with you 2,000%, that it seems that they wanted intentionally to heal this country and to heal this land by starting where that great schism had taken place, and that the best way to do that was through education and bringing together black people and white people of goodwill to educate future generations. They would do it for the black students, but they were also doing it for the larger community, and I think her hope was that that would continue. And I see the process that we're engaging in today and as of yesterday, and hopefully in the future, continuing that dream and that vision that she had for our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.